Hello, welcome to Species Spotlight here at Triggerfish Tech. Today's species we'll be covering is the Ocellaris Clownfish. Scientific name Amphiprion ocellaris. Fish profile. The origins of this clownfish are from the Indo-Pacific. However, the majority of these clownfish that you will see, the vast majority in fact, you will see in stores or online are captive bred, as due to their success as being one of the first saltwater fish to be successfully bred in captivity. They are widely available um, in stores and hardly taken from the wild. Water type, they are saltwaters, so please do not place them in fresh water. They will not survive. They will they will perish, and it will be a very very sad day. Um, Temperament, they are peaceful. The only time may ever see any aggression in your tank from these Ocellaris clownfish is when you're trying to pair a male with a female, or you have two pairs of clownfish, of these Ocellaris clownfish in your tank, and they're trying to fight for territory, right? But um, that's usually the main dispute that happens between Ocellaris clownfish, and it can happen between other species of clownfish too. Diet, they are omnivores. They can eat almost anything, right? Live foods, dry foods, algae on the walls of your tank. They, due to being captive bred, they are very very hardy fish, and they will eat almost anything because of how they've been conditioned. Coral compatibility, they are compatible with coral. The only problem you may see is that when they start to host, right, when the pair of clownfish start to host, they will get on top of the coral or gut around it or get in it, right? And that may stress out the coral. Um, but however, that's very, very rare. And the majority of the time, your coral will be okay. Macroalgae compatibility, they are very compatible with macroalgae. They hardly touch the thing. Or not the thing, but macroalgae in general. Invertebrate compatibility, they are most definitely compatible with inverts. They won't touch them. Max size, they grow to about 3 to 4 inches. However, this is mainly the females, and the males tend to get a little bit smaller, maybe like 1 to 2 inches, or 1 to 2.5 inches. The cost, Ocellaris clownfish do vary. They range from what's it called, $20 to $200, and that's the main price point that you'll see. There will be designer clownfish that are more expensive, which is why we have the $200 mark. However, designer clownfish can go for more than $200. And the regular clownfish, depending on your local fish store, could go for less than $20. However, the majority of the time you'll see that the price ranges in between $20 to $200. Now, for fish facts, the Ocellaris clownfish does not need an anemone to survive, despite what movies have led many people to believe, or even just pictures of the clownfish, of the Ocellaris, right? Um, However, they do share a symbiotic relationship with anemones, both in the wild and in captivity. Um, what is it? They will often take food to the anemone and feed it as a to make sure their home is stable and not dying or starving. So that way they as well have a safe place to stay. Um, they partake in a part they partake in a behavior called clownfish hosting. Ocellaris clownfish and many other clownfish do this, where they host a specific anemone or coral or even a rock or a pot, right, that you place in your tank. And that'll be kind of like their home base, their hub that they stay and they usually won't go far from it. Um, and it doesn't have to be an anemone. The majority of times it is an anemone. However, it can be many different things. Um, as a matter of fact, the best coral, if you don't want an enemy, to host your clownfish is Euphilia coral, because it mimics the tentacles, the fleshy tentacles of the anemone. Ocellaris clownfish are easily mistaken for percula clownfish. As a matter of fact, one of their nicknames is the false percula clownfish. So you can see how they can be very, very easily mistaken. Um, don't make this mistake, especially when at fish stores they have assorted clownfish. And you like a clownfish from that tank, and you want an Ocellaris. You really want to check to see if it's a percula or an Ocellaris. You can ask your local fish store. Usually it has to do with their fins and the placement of their eyes. From what I've personally seen. Um, Clownfish in general, including the Ocellaris, are protandrous hermaphrodites. So, uh, might ruin the movie for you, right? Several movies, uh, or not. But protandrous hermaphrodites being that the most dominant clownfish out of your pair of clownfish or even harem of clownfish that you have will be most likely be the female. Um, and so clownfish are originally born sexless, and ultimately, when they grow up, they become male. And the most dominant female, or the most dominant male, so rather, becomes a female. And then the most dominant male is the one who is able to breed with the female, right? And then you have the less dominant males in the back that aren't really breeding with the female. And so, for example, if the dominant female dies, the dominant male will take her place and become a female. And it usually takes around like a month for the fish to transition. Ocellaris clownfish come in a vast variety of colors and morphs. So yes, so kind of how we went over with the costs. Um, Clownfish come in a variety of different colors, right? So you have the regular orange one, you have the mocha, you have white, black, um, and that's really it. That's really it. Sometimes you'll see different shades of orange. Morphs, you can have like the storm clownfish. So, for example, snowstorm clownfish, they're all white with black fins, and they have a little bit of a blue tinge to them. Um, Black storm clownfish are white with black polka dots, right? Mocha clownfish, same thing like the black storm, they have mocha polka dots. And there's even orange storms, which are um, white with orange polka dots, right? And then another fact is clownfish can be kept in harems. So, kind of how I said, clownfish can be territorial when there's pairs fighting for territory. With the harem, if you put, say, a dozen in a tank, say like a 50-gallon, the aggression between all the clownfish will be spread out by 12 individuals. And so it won't, so one fish won't get it bad, particularly won't end up dying, as if you were to put like three and the two pair up and one is the odd one out, you know? Now, for housing requirements, for tank size for a single clownfish is 5 gallons. Tank size for a pair, 10 gallons. Oh, this is the minimum tank size, I should say. For tank size for multiple, say like two pairs, I would say not five, 50 gallons. And tank size for a harem. I've heard it done in a 40 minimum. However, I would go with a 50-gallon as well, just to be safe. Just to be safe. But a 40-gallon can be done. These are the minimum tank sizes, not the maximum. Water temperature. Make sure you keep your waters in between 74 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, or 24 to 28 degrees Celsius, right, for um, viewers outside of America. Their KH levels, make sure it is between 8 and 12. Their pH level, make sure it is between 8 and 8.4. I've heard that you can keep clownfish in 7.9, 7.8. However, these are the preferred pH levels. Salinity, make sure it's 1.02 and through 1.025. However, if your salinity goes off a little bit, whether below or above, you should be okay. Clownfish themselves are really, really good at adapting to changes in their tank, mainly due to um their being captive them being captive bred, right? So they're able to withstand the changes. However, just make sure they don't stray too far from that level, right? Now, care recommendations. Most clownfish species tend to do better in pairs, and the same could be said of the Ocellaris. This is very true. I would suggest you keep your clownfish in pairs, just because one, you don't want a lonely clownfish. It's quite sad. Um, Two, because if you get any more than that, right? Say if you get like two pairs in a 30-gallon, that's not a lot of room for both pairs of fish, and they'll end up going to war, right? And eventually you'll have the losers, and it just won't be a pretty picture, right? As a matter of fact, all your clownfish may die due to their injuries that they sustained during the fight, right? When buying clownfish, including the Ocellaris, it is better if you buy the number of clownfish you want for your tank in one purchase and put them in the tank at the same time. By doing so, this avoids um, any aggression um, that the clownfish may have. So, for example, if you were to put a pair of clownfish into a 50-gallon tank, right, and then you put in and try to put in a harem, and so you put in five other clownfish, it's not really gonna look good because that pair is already established in the tank, and they'll go and they'll try to fight all those other clownfish. However, if you were to put them all in the same tank together, none of them, what's it called? None of them have an established territory, so they'll all kind of just be, I don't want to say lost, but they'll be trying to figure out whose territory is whose. Um, when purchasing, make sure you look for signs of ick, Brooklynella, or velvet. These diseases are very, very dangerous when it comes to clownfish. They can most definitely wipe out a tank. Especially with clownfish, they can take them out in days. If not days, like hours. Well, I wouldn't say hours. However, I would say in a matter of like 2 days, your fish could be gone. And then it could spread to the other fish in the tank. So you would really want to make sure that they don't have Ichor Brooklynella. And if possible, quarantine them so that way you can make sure they don't have any of these diseases. If you only have one clownfish and want to introduce another clownfish, what's it called, in your tank, it is best if you get one that is smaller than the one you already have. Mainly because if clownfish are alone for for a good amount of time, right, whether it be a month or 6 months or a year, right, these clownfish will become the dominant clownfish, and they will um, become a female. They will transition into becoming a female, and that territory will be theirs. However, that is an easy way of pairing your clownfish, right? So you have an established female and you introduce a male, and that is how you can easily get a pair. However, you just want to make sure that the female is accepting of the male. Lastly, make sure you don't put them in the tank if you know one of your fishes will try to or will eat them. This, I mean, this is obvious. This is obvious. Hopefully, you would know that you shouldn't put them in the tank with, say, a grouper, right? Because it can get very dangerous for the fish, and you can end up losing your fish in a matter of whether hours, days. Um, Ultimately, you will have that chance of losing your fish. All in all, this was the Ocellaris Clownfish here at Triggerfish Tech. Thank you for listening and have a wonderful day.